The Valmiki Ramayana is one of history's most studied epics, yet hidden within its verses is a severe contradiction regarding its protagonist's core vows. In the epic's Ayodhya-kanda, verse 2.22.29, Rama states his vow for his 14-year exile. He declares he will live as an ascetic in the forest, consuming only madhu, mula, phale, honey, roots, and fruits. As the epic unfolds, readers encounter a jarring discrepancy. There are roughly 6 specific passages that seem to explicitly describe Rama hunting or consuming meat. The anomaly deepens when cross-referencing other ancient texts. The Anushasana Parva of the Mahabharata explicitly names Rama in a historical record of ancient kings who strictly abstained from meat. If we treat this ancient literature as an internally consistent logical system, a problem emerges. How do Indologists and Sanskrit scholars resolve a text that presents 2 diametrically opposed facts? To solve this, we have to look past modern religious debates and rely on the rigorous academic disciplines of Indology and textual criticism. Scholars generally use 2 frameworks to approach textual paradoxes. The first is modern higher criticism. This method evaluates the entire text using statistical and structural analysis to identify anomalies and later interpolations added by scribes. The second framework is classical exegesis, or lower criticism. Practitioners of this method preserve every single word of the manuscript, relying instead on deep grammatical reparsing and linguistic root analysis to uncover the precise meaning of the verses. While higher criticism operates on a macro level and classical exegesis on a micro level, scholars utilize both to protect the narrative consistency of the overarching story. To understand how historians parse contradictory ancient documents, we need to evaluate this specific diet debate through both modern statistics and ancient grammar. The entire controversy hinges on a single Sanskrit word found in the text, mamsa. Classical Sanskrit relies heavily on lexicological polysemy. Words carry multiple, context-dependent definitions that can dramatically alter the translation of a sentence. To determine the academic baseline for this word, we look to Vaman Shri Ram Apte's authoritative Sanskrit-English dictionary, compiled over a century ago. While Apte's lexicon lists animal flesh as the primary definition, it provides a specific secondary definition, the fleshy pulp of fruits. Traditional commentators apply this secondary definition directly to the Ramayana. When verses describe ascetics being offered mamsa, they interpret it strictly as the fleshy, pulpy parts of forest fruits. The highly regarded Ramayana Shiromani commentary supports this non-meat reading, noting that the mamsa consumed by Rama and Sita refers to foods suitable for ascetics. The assumed English translation of a controversial word is often just one of several valid choices. Selecting a different, historically accurate definition changes the reality presented by the text. Moving from word-level definitions to macro-level analysis, we apply the lens of modern higher criticism, utilizing the 2023 work Ramayana Insights by Vedic scholar Dr. R. Rangan. Dr. Rangan's methodology evaluates the epic to test its statistical consistency across its thousands of verses. This timeline maps dietary references. The baseline data shows over 20 verses where Rama, Sita, or Lakshmana insist on a strict diet of fruits and roots. In contrast, the timeline shows only 6 isolated verses that hint at hunting for food or meat consumption. Because these 6 verses contradict the established axioms and are statistically overwhelmed by the surrounding data, Dr. Rangan classifies them as prakshepa, interpolations added by later scribes. Identifying prakshepa is an ancient tradition. Classical commentators like Mahashwara Tirtha routinely rejected verses if they were missing from older, uncorrupted manuscript lineages. Higher criticism resolves the paradox mathematically. It identifies and excises corrupt, anomalous data points that violate the established rules of the system. The second framework, classical exegesis, takes the opposite approach. Instead of deleting anomalous verses, scholars attempt to harmonize them through intense philological focus. To do this, we turn again to the Ramayana Shiromani Kramankariva Sahai as our primary tool for microanalysis. The next problematic word is the verb root han, which frequently appears in these verses as hatwa. English translators almost universally read this as having killed. Classical exegesis evaluates words by cross-referencing their ancient usages. In his commentary on Rigveda 10.85, the scholar Sayana notes that han is used to mean to strike, to beat, or to prod, not to end a life. Applying this root analysis to Rama's hunting verses, commentators argue the brothers were striking or sporting with animals for martial practice, separating the act of hunting from the act of consuming the animal. Through classical exegesis, the reality of a physical action changes entirely when a verb root is traced back to its oldest historical usages. The ultimate test case for this methodology is found in Ayodhya Kanda verse 2.56.22, a passage where Rama seemingly orders Lakshmana to bring him a killed deer. This diagram shows the standard grammatical parsing of the phrase, mrigam hatva anya. Read this way, the literal English translation becomes, having killed the deer, bring it. But classical Sanskrit relies heavily on sandhi, the phonetic junction of words. Because ancient manuscripts lacked spaces between characters, strings of letters can be segmented in multiple grammatically valid ways. The Shiromani commentary uses this rule to segment those exact same letters to create a completely different sentence. By placing the spaces differently, the root word for kill disappears. It is replaced by ha and ta, two emphatic particles that mean certainly or definitely, followed by anaya, meaning bring. With this precise grammatical shift, the verse no longer commands a slaughter. It reads simply, definitely bring the deer. The factual truth of an ancient text can flip based entirely on where a scholar decides to place a microscopic space between syllables. When we step back, we can compare the outcomes of both academic frameworks side by side. Higher criticism looks at the math, identifying 6 statistical anomalies and excising them to protect the macro-narrative structure. Classical exegesis keeps every verse intact, applying deep grammatical and linguistic rules to harmonize the text with the character's explicit vows. Two diametrically opposed disciplines, one relying on macro deletion, the other on micro reconstruction, arrive at the exact same conclusion regarding the diet of the Ramayana's protagonist. True academic rigor, whether utilizing modern statistics or ancient grammar, serves to align a historical document with its own established axioms. Translating classical languages like Sanskrit is never a simple, objective act of one-to-one word substitution. True comprehension demands active engagement with historical lexicography, cross-textual references, and centuries of classical commentaries. Approaching highly structured Sanskrit poetry with a literal, modern lens overlooks the linguistic complexity that scholars have debated for centuries. The historical reality of the Ramayana is inseparable from the specific philological frameworks used to interpret the invisible rules that govern the text.